a second.
Dilip, how many people are on the meeting now?
Oh, don't know.
29.
Oh, wow. Okay. Sorry about the delay then. So
Maybe there'll be as many as the number of slides you have.
are you guys able to see the screen or no?
We can
Yeah.
see the screen, but it's not in presentation mode yet.
Oh, okay. That's fine. So okay, how about now?
Perfect.
Okay, so we both, Rohit, neither Rohit or me are medical professionals. Before making any changes in your diet or exercise or medicines, please consult with your doctor. This is all general information. Do your own research. So just to make it very clear, right at the front. Okay.
Besides which, our
Let-
net worth is not worth you suing us anyway.
Okay, so in terms of the agenda, I'm going to be covering the goals of this conversation. Rohit will talk about why now and something on health paradox. Then I'll go through the what to expect in our golden years. And then Rohit and I'll cover how to improve the health span. Finally, we'll have open discussion. What I suggest is that if you guys could be putting your questions in the chat box, and then we'll try to cover all of those in the open discussion. So in terms of the goals, first, again, we are no experts. We are just folks like you, and our intent here is to learn from folks who are ahead of us in the journey and give tips to those who are not as ahead. So goal is to improve the health span. What is health span? It is, well, when I talk to Bakats, was a lot of them will say they don't care to live, too long. They don't care for that, and that is totally understandable. That's not our goal here. But nobody says that they want to be wheelchair bound or not be functional and independent and mobile as long as they live, right? So the goal of health span is to really uh, improve your quality of life for as long as you live. And what that means is that you don't want to be the burden on your loved ones, and hopefully you are able to help others. Now, in this process, if your lifespan increases, please don't blame us. Okay, so what motivated me? I'll start with that. Around the age of 60 or 61, I was in perfect health, or so I thought. No issues. I not even visited any doctors, didn't have even a primary doctor. Then a few years ago, we started a health forum with Bakats, and Bakats will, give some ideas and suggestions on what medical tests to do. And so then I started, and I was retired, so I started to go to doctors for asking for tests. And every time I got something tested, I found something, it borderline or some not so borderline. Which actually surprised me. So that got me to think, what else is there? What other surprises are there? So in the period 60 to 64, these are the type of changes which start to happen in a human body. They may have happened sooner, but I'll talk about this period because it pertains to most of us here, except Anita. So for in terms of heart, your arteries start to narrow. Your bone density, you may start to have bone density loss, definitely more so for women. There's muscle mass and muscle strength decreases. What that means is your muscle mass goes down, but even for the same muscle mass, your muscles are less strong. There'll be some changes on the vision and early high frequency hearing loss, which may not be perceptible to you yet. Metabolism slows down, the abdominal fat increases, the skin is drier, and the bladder is less elastic. And to my surprise, I got inflicted with several of those and some more, which, as I mentioned, was a surprise to me. Now, that's the bad news. The good news is on the mental front, our cognition is pretty good. We are not experiencing any issues there, which is really good because therefore we can do something about the changes which are coming our way if we apply our mind to it. And the better news is my partner in crime, Rohit, has assured me that we can even reverse some of these changes. So let me introduce Rohit, who will be sharing his insights on how to reverse aging. This cartoon is courtesy of Raman Bhatia, and as you can guess, Rohit is on the right-hand side. But seriously, Rohit is I have done many hikes with him. When he's on a hike, he can kick butts of even youngsters. So you are in good hands when you are listening to him.
Thank you, Dilip. And I just want to shout out to Dilip. He's a fearless leader here in the Bay Area and across the board. And just taking on a topic like this, which is so important to all of us, and putting in the effort. He's put in so much effort behind this presentation and getting us all together. So thank you, Dilip. Next slide, please. So this section is like, why act now, right? So there are two basic reasons for acting now. One is the effort is still somewhat manageable. Effort to get back to the same functionality we had increases exponentially with age. And there does come an age, the best that Dilip and I could tell from our reading is like 65, 70-ish, where some of this stuff is irreversible, right? So obviously we don't want to get that to that point. And as any of you, there are athletes like Tapan and stuff on the call. We talk, you talk to Tapan, hey, it's harder and harder every time you have an injury or something like that to get back to the functionality you had. It gets harder and harder as you get older, right? So hence, act now. That's one point. Next slide, please. The second point, and this is the fascinating part, it's a really excellent book called Younger Next Year. And not chronologically, obviously, but functionally younger next year by two gentlemen, Crowley and Lodge. One of them is a gerontologist. The other is actually an old person, 80, 85 years old. A really lovely book written with a lot of humor and a lot of insight. And the central point that this gerontologist is making is that for most people, the curve that we follow in our health is on the extreme left, right? We just kind of have this gentle decay as we get older, and then we die. And his point is that with some effort, we can hit the middle curve, which is that we can have our functionality stay relatively flat, and then you die. And then he claims, there's not a prospective randomized double-blind trial or whatever, but he claims that in his experience as a gerontologist, for 95% of the people with some effort, with some extra effort, you can actually improve your functionality for a period of time, right? So that's amazing. And I can tell you in areas for me personally, like my knees are short, I have no cartilage in my knees, but with the right physical therapy, just twice a week for 6 months, I've literally increased my downhill speed by 60%. I won't say I was able to keep up with Tapan, but Tapan was actually willing to go on a hike with me, which which is all one can hope for in life, right? So, so obviously that's anecdotal, but a lovely book. Maybe we'll take it on in one of our book club topics. But this is the goal. The goal is to be flat or increasing functionality as long as possible. Now, I know you guys are all buckets, and you said that you'll notice that he not only flattened the curve, he also extended the curve, right? The bottom right, instead of 75, 76 goes to 85 or something, right? And some of you are going to bring that up. And yes, that may be something that comes along, that a lot of these interventions also improve your longevity, but so long as they come with a health span, I'm good with that, right? That's the point. Okay, next slide, please. So there are a lot of people studying a lot of drugs to reverse the aging, right? There are people studying taurine, which tends to decrease with age. There are people studying rapamycin, which is a lot of longevity protocols seem to have rapamycin in them. The challenge with rapamycin is that it decreases immunity. It was an immune suppressant used in a lot of transplant protocols, right? And so far, the bad news is there's no pill that has been shown to reverse aging. Okay, the medical industry is going to continue to work on it. Maybe one day there will be a pill that'll magically do it for us, but right now there isn't one. And frankly, even if a pill appeared tomorrow, I'd want to read the studies. I'd want it to be on the market for 10 or 20 years so that we know the side effects before we start to take it. And certainly, if something's got a trade-off like immunocompromise, that there is a trade-off on immunity or something like that, then we got to be careful. The good news, on the other hand, is that if you look at all the stuff that there are actually studies for, the things we can do to improve our health span are pretty easily understandable. And they are exercise, nutrition, social connection, and sleep, right? Not that complicated. We can all understand that and we can all execute it. Right? And we'll dig into each of them a little bit more and share our experiences and tips. And there are many of you who do way better than any of us, either of us, Dilip and I, on many of these vectors. Hopefully, you'll share that with us. Next slide, please, Dilip. So it's super easy to understand, right? What's so hard to get about these four things, but why is it so hard to do? Next slide, please. So Dilip kindly pulled out this video for us about what it took to get some honey in say 100 years ago. Go ahead.
And a Hadzabe hunter casually climbs in. I peer up inside the baobab to see wooden steps have been hammered inside. Then I get stung. Oh, look at the bees. It's like a coffin full of bees.
Cool.
Wow.
Man.
But where? Doctor near.
So yeah. Look at the color of that honey. It is like the deepest golden yellow I've seen in my entire life. Oh, it's good, man. There is nothing else like this honey in the planet.
So that used to be how we got honey. And now, if you're like me, you go to Costco, and not quite a 5-pound bottle, but something like that, you can get super easily. So point is, we used to have to work for our food. Next slide, please. And now it's super easy to get. We can skip this one, Dilip. Thank you. Mammals have been around on the planet for like 225 million years, and humans have been around for, let's say, 300,000 years. For all these time periods, one more slide, Philip. For all these time periods, right, evolution has really conditioned us to conserve energy and to hoard food. Right? That's what helped people along. So we see lions eating everything they can, right, till their stomachs are distended. We don't see them out there running laps or just climbing hills for fun, right? Because they are conditioned by evolution to hoard food, eat as much as they can when that's available, and conserve energy, because you never know when you might need it. And we have food too easily available to us now. So we eat a lot of it, and we conserve energy, and that actually is not good for us anymore, given how easily food is available. And I'm sure evolution will take care of this, right? Over time, it will take care of it. People who do exercise and people who do the things we're talking about here will evolve uh, and and spread their genes. But for the time being, we have to fight evolution, right? We have to go against that. So that's the point. It's easy to understand, but it's hard to do because we are going against the force, what evolution has conditioned us to do. Next slide.
So conserve energy means doing exercise is actually an unnatural act. And Jaitlin, you must.
Yep, keep going. Yeah, thank you. So I hand it back to Dilip.
Okay, so what do we expect in our golden years? We'll go through that. We'll continue the journey. This is where we will be heading shortly, or some of us are already there. So I will go through all these periods. I won't go through in detail, but at least in 65 to 69, we start to see the arteries narrowing again for some people. The bone loss will progress again. Some of us, or especially women, may see osteoporosis. Men may see osteopenia, and the muscle loss may start to affect the balance for some folks, and the immune system will start to decline, which means we are more susceptible to infectious and other diseases. Then the sensory changes in terms of the vision and the hearing will continue to decline, though that may not bother us as much directly. But the impact of that is that it affects the social interaction. If you don't hear something, you may not know that you're not hearing, but it affects your social interaction. So we'll keep talking about the social interaction and the impact of that as we go along. This is the start. Now, in terms of the mental changes, we will start to notice the processing speed will change. There are lots of changes. I won't go through each one of them. The sleep will, you may already notice some of your sleep is different from what it used to be. But something which surprised me is that the depression and anxiety risk increases. And part of the reason is it could be due to retirement. Now we need to adjust due to that. It could be, some new illness which affected us in terms of chronic illnesses, or in some cases it could be bereavement or isolation. Surprisingly, it talks about the suicide risk, which we'll keep coming to. Now, in these periods, I will not spend a lot of time between 70 to 74. The fall risk does increase, and the immune system continues to decline. In terms of the mental changes, definitely the cognitive slowing is more perceptible, and there's a risk of isolation actually at this period more. We are not hit with the dementia yet. MCI's, I believe, mild cognitive impairment risk increases. Okay, so the next period, again, the fall risk, which we'll keep talking about, the fall and the social isolation, it increases. But this time now, the functional limitations start to come into play. We are more frail, and the fall risk increases. Obviously, there are other sensory changes, vision and hearing, but the taste and smell also changes, which surprisingly affects our nutrition. And Rohit will talk about, he already mentioned how important is nutrition, but it gets affected because of the smell and the taste changes. Things don't taste the same. Now at this age, the dementia might hit some of us, and the IADL is the activities for daily living. The IADL is instruments of those activities. For example, if you have been handling finances, it may become more complex. You may have to involve your children to start doing that, which is a big change in terms of accepting that. 80 to 84, again, the activities of daily living start to affect, the balance gets challenged. Uh, the mental changes, again, the cognitive decline continues, the high risk of depression and anxiety, not just because of mental changes, but because now you have physical health burden on someone else, and that affects mentally as well. It's a cycle, and the risk of loss and isolation. Uh, so you may not care about this period or as we go further along, but something which caught my attention is I'll just talk about one issue, postural hypotension risk. What it is that when you are sitting and you get up, a lot of blood actually goes to the legs, and you don't get enough blood in your brain, and so you may feel dizzy or you fall. Now, uh, I'm mentioning all these changes, but they're not inevitable, right? If you start to invest in exercise, for example, now your calf muscles are strong and they become like a second heart. It becomes a second pump, which will push the blood. So the point of all these is that these changes are coming, but they're not inevitable, and some of them you may be able to uh, uh, to alleviate or reverse early on. Uh, again, more changes on the mental front. If I summarize all of this, right, in terms of the physical health changes, there's a muscle loss, there's a bone loss, there's a fall and fracture risk, and the sensory changes, there's a cardiovascular disease changes. We are becoming less functionally able and more frail. And then there are mental changes around depression, social isolation, potentially dementia, definitely some progressive cognitive slowing. So what's the point of all this? Is that our health is declining, our quality of life is, in the absence of intervention, is going down. That's the point of that, going through all these changes. But if we do some intervention, which we'll talk about, we can change the curve. And Rohit talked about the pillars of intervention: exercise, nutrition, social sleep. I'll spend a fair amount of time starting with exercise now. So, how to get body of an athlete?
I have the body of an athlete. No, you don't. What do you mean? It's in my backyard.
Well, that's one way. I don't recommend that way. So, doing exercise is a better way, and the types of exercise are endurance, strength and power, mobility and flexibility, and balance. You must incorporate all of those in some form or the other. And that's the bad news, that you really need to do all of those. The good news is you don't have to spend hours and hours doing it, just 1 hour per day. That includes in 15 minutes of warm up and 5 minutes of cool down, and only 5 days a week. And you can incorporate in your daily life. So Rohit challenged me, like, why do you have to do all of them? And I must tell you that all exercises have lots of great benefits, and they are overlapping in some form or the other. But each exercise has some unique benefits. So I'll just go through some of them quickly. Endurance, what surprised me is that it actually rewires your brain to better regulate your appetite and metabolism. It, of course, improves your cardio and lung capacity, but also it improves your immunity because through endurance, unlike in the cardio, you're using your limb system, and that pushes out toxins out of your body, and that improves your immunity and thwarts the diseases. Strength, of course, it builds muscle, and you are continuing to burn your calories throughout the day. Power. we'll define what each one of them is. It actually improves your reaction time, that such that you're about to fall. We talked about all those issues. If you're about to fall, you could react better, but also it improves your mind muscle coordination because you have to act very quickly. So it makes your brain sharper. Mobility improves your quality of life. It builds confidence. You are able to uh, basically do safer movements, and flexibility. It's a component of mobility. Increase your elasticity. Rohit talked about is cartilage. You can actually improve your tendons and cartilage and ligament going through flexibility. And balance is really important. We kept talking about the fall. It sharpens your body in terms of where you are in space, and react to any potential fall issues. So we'll go through just defining what each exercise is. So quickly, endurance is body's ability to sustain, and Kotesh is expert in that. Sustain prolonged physical activity, both in terms of the cardiovascular endurance as well as your muscular endurance. And as I mentioned, surprisingly, it also improves your immunity. These are the types of endurance exercises. You could be doing rock climbing like Manjula or marathon across multiple continents, or just do biking in your neighborhood, or do brisk walking, or, well, here is Shailesh hidden, swimming in your own backyard. Uh, or gardening, or dances, so there are many different types of activities you could do. Whether you do a lot or a small amount, the benefit to you in terms of your health is actually the same. Strength, this is Netk. I'll just He is pumping 200 pounds of iron. That's a lot of weight. He started his journey, I think, less than a year ago. He couldn't probably do even 50 pounds then. So he has definitely gotten strong, not just in strength, but in other areas. He other day mentioned his golf performance has improved. So strength definition is just the ability to move weight, heavy weight. The weight doesn't have to be external. You could be using resistance band, or just body weight, as in yoga or calisthenics. Power. I'll start with an example. This is me. In spite of all the issues that I mentioned to you, that I have. Okay, sorry. That's it. It's just 50 pounds of weight, but it goes from ground to overhead in 2 seconds. So power, as you guys know, it is, I did not too much energy, but in a very short period. So it requires a lot of power, and it has advantages in terms of, well, you don't have to do this exercise. You could just do jump ropes at home. And it has advantages in terms of improving your reaction times, improving your uh, muscular, and you could fire. It also involved actually every single muscle of your body. So brain has to fire a lot of motor neurons to get to that. So again, you can just do jump ropes at home. Mobility, if you ask Buckeyes, their definition is Haga is equal to Maga is equal to mobility. That's the technical definition. Less technical is just your ability of your joints to move through full range of motion. We may have mobility in some areas and not in other joints, but it's very important. Rohit will remind you that you should actually practice sitting down on the floor and getting up without using your hands. In case you fall, you should be able to get up. You should try just getting up from your chair without using your hands. And if you're little advanced, get up with one leg without using hands. Flexibility is a component of mobility, but it is more stretching your muscles in a static way. Balance is self-explanatory here. All the examples I've given are backats, just so that you guys know. It's not just managing your center of gravity, but even when your base of support changes, you should be able to handle it. Let me explain what that means. Here is Subodh doing static balance through yoga. Tapan, he has a different method. He actually changes his socks standing up every day. He puts on his shoes standing up. So it's a functional balance. The point is that you don't have to do exercises formally. You could incorporate in your daily life differently. This is an example of dynamic balance.
Good right here. Good.
What this does, Ajay Pandey doing that, is that your base itself is changing. So when you're walking and you come across some obstacle and you are not aware of it, you will be able to react to it quickly and not fall, which we talked about the fall risk earlier. I have compiled the detailed list of benefits of exercise. I won't go through them, but I listed them here so that you can watch them leisurely later on. To me, Angel is in the details, and the more I know about these benefits and a list, the more it motivates me to fight my natural instinct that Rohit talked about, to conserve energy and not exercise. Strength training, muscle growth, bone density, power training. We talked about it actually activates. Strength is about slow twitch muscles. Power training about fast twitch muscle fibers, which and firing motor neurons from your brain. Endurance training, too many benefits. I couldn't even fit them in one slide. It improves your mood, reduces your stress, better sleep. Balance training, again, main example is main benefit is prevents falls, but actually keeps your brain sharp. Mobility and flexibility is again, risk of falls. It reduces your pain. If you have pain in your joints and you are getting arthritis, best medicine is to actually move, make them more lubricant. So summary of all these benefits, again, too many benefits. You can go through the summary, both in terms of the physical benefits and mental benefits. So what's the point of all this? That start exercising now, just do it 1 hour, start slow, increase load progressively and build upon it. And that will get you to invert the curve that Rohit has promised us. Oh, before I go to the next one, rest and recovery are important. As you get excited, you keep doing a lot of exercise. Make sure you are having, and by the way, I'm really expert in rest and recovery and sleep. Just ask my wife. You must take enough rest. Don't overtrain. It can affect you negatively. And there are some tips on how to actually rest and recover. Exercise itself doesn't build your muscles. It actually breaks it down. It is actually the nutrition and the rest and hydration which builds your muscles. So that brings us to the next topic. I'll pass it on to Rohit.
Thank you, Dilip. So we'll go on to the social one because this is probably the least appreciated one. Next slide, please.
Do you want to take questions before you move to the next one?
We will take questions at the end if it's okay with you
Okay.
guys, just so
Okay,
we
fine.
and we have timed this, so we'll finish in 50 minutes or so. We'll have 10 minutes at the end, yeah. So this is just a plug for the bucket get-togethers. This is a good positive social connection, and you know there's a health reason to do these too, not just the fact that we enjoy them. One more, next slide. So why social connection, right? Social isolation is linked to increased risk of dementia, disease, stroke, anxiety, depression, and mortality, right? And surprisingly, in the US, some 28% of people age 65 and over live alone. It's a crazy number, right? And not so. I would imagine the number for India is smaller, but it's still a huge number, right? And then another point is that there is this concept of subjective versus objective isolation. So feeling alone is not dependent on living alone, right? So you could be living with a group of people. You might even be in a joint family, but if nobody's talking to you, you're on a separate floor, whatever else, you could still be feeling alone, and that has a significant impact on your health. Okay, next slide, please. So here are some tips on how to combat isolation. The first thing is active engagement. Just being part of a WhatsApp group or a Reddit group is not active engagement. Right? And then the second point is that the relationships you establish need to be positive and nurturing. If they're causing you anxiety, if you feel like going to a gathering, people are being judgy or something, that is not actually nourishing to your mental health, right? So, or if you just go there and don't do anything, active participation actually matters in terms of getting the benefits of this. Stress, lots of different ways to do it. Mindfulness, yoga, exercise. There are several of you who are way, way advanced in this, so I won't dwell on it, just to know that there is a way to do it. And then as Dilip and I were talking, we realized we were both like making it a point to hike once a week with a friend. And that provides leverage, right? Not only are you getting out there and getting some exercise, endurance that Dilip talked about, but it's also a social activity, right? And it's a 2-for-1.
And
The
so
next point.
just Rohit, if I can say, it's not just doing exercise. Rohit and I collaborated on this, and that's also a social activity. We both benefited and learned a lot more together.
Absolutely. Then the next one is something I learned of watching my dad age. Loss of hearing, mobility, and vision increases isolation. So people, especially around hearing aids, there's a lot of stigma. I do know a couple of our colleagues in the US have taken the plunge of a hearing aid. There is, as Dilip talked about, on average, loss of high frequency hearing. And we are much more likely to get ourselves glasses than wear hearing aids. But as our hearing goes, it increases isolation, and that does have a health impact. Mental activities, as you all know, like whether chess, bridge, whatever else, puzzles, does sustain cognitive function. And then professional help, again, huge stigma in our community around this, but talk therapy, which is counseling, can be effective, as can medication, and medicines plus talk therapy together are more effective than either alone. Right? So those were some tips on social stuff. And next slide, please. Here are some of our colleagues who have taken the plunge and have expanded their horizons. You'll recognize all of them, and I'm just in awe of all of these people taking this on. Some longtime practitioners, some started recently or restarted recently, and it's just amazing to watch. Next slide, please. Some more examples, right? Just super impressive. One more, Dilip. And with all the social stuff, I finally understood. You remember the song "Tum ek paisa doge, wo 10 lakh dega." And last decade and a half, I've been involved quite a bit in philanthropy, and it came to me what the meaning of that song was. Right? So, okay, let's keep going. So that was the social pillar. I'll jump into nutrition. Again, many of you are way further along on this journey. Arul could probably write a book on this, but we'll dig into this next pillar of nutrition. This is what nutrition used to be, right? Pure ghee ke laddu. And but this probably should have a big circle with a cross through it at this point. So next slide. The largest body of research around nutrition is around the Mediterranean diet, right? Huge studies around this. And what it showed was that there is a lower risk of cardiovascular disease, the reduced risk of developing type 2 diabetes. I know several of our colleagues are managing their diabetes or blood pressure through exercise and food interventions alone, which is impressive. Mediterranean diet showed reduced cognitive decline, showed protection against oxidative stress. The last 2 points is not something we're concerned with right now, but fewer complications of pregnancy, better IVF outcomes, and so on. So many positive impacts of the Mediterranean diet. So next slide. So what is it? Mediterranean diet? More, again, very simple to understand, right? More whole grains, fruits and veggies, unprocessed, olive oil. The Mediterranean diet actually is fish, but I know some of us are vegetarians. So, the point is to get omega-3. Protein, there's been a lot of study on protein recently, and the recommended daily allowance has been going higher and higher, especially as we get older. Best I could gather from recent stuff is like 1.2 grams per kilograms per day, right? So if one of us is 70 kilograms, that's 84 grams of protein a day. That is not easy to pull off, especially with a vegetarian diet. So just do the math. Sometimes I'm not saying you got to measure it every day, but just try to benchmark that, and it's not easy to pull off. And so you got to work at it really hard to get that kind of protein into your diet. And then this, I like the last bullet a lot, right? At the end of the day, your grandma should be able to understand what you're eating. They did not eat high fructose corn syrup, right? There was no refined flour. She took her wheat to the mill or her rice to the mill to get it ground in front of her and use that to cook, right? And we've just lost all of that. And then on the right-hand side is do less of ultra-processed foods. These are really bad. Carbs, refined carbs in general, bad. Saturated fats, sugar, lots of data recently on how bad sugar is. Alcohol, just last few months, a lot of studies have been released on even a little amount of alcohol. Remember, like a couple of years ago, we're all drinking red wine because it was meant to have beneficial effects, and now the studies are saying not so much, right? And they couldn't. I read the study, and it couldn't pull off like no drinking. So most of the comparisons are 1 drink to 2 drink to 3 drinks per day kind of stuff, and especially for women, the cancer increase risk goes up like 10% per drink, something like that. So it was pretty significant. Best I could tell, 1 drink 3 times a day or something seemed like a minimal impact. But in general, people are saying even a little bit of alcohol is not good for your health. Next slide, please. So some tips. These are just things that work for me. To me, I don't deny myself hardly anything, right? I eat pretty much everything except meat. But the way we make it work is like we find, at least in the US, entree portions are huge. So 1 entree between 2 people. Quite often, if I'm by myself on a business trip or something, appetizers actually plenty of food, man. That and a salad is a decent meal. Sweets, yeah, I have a huge sweet tooth. So, but they don't even come into the house anymore. It's mostly dark chocolate or nut butter covered with dark chocolate that gives me satisfies the sweet tooth a little bit, and I get a little more protein. Fruit juice. I was surprised to see a friend of ours drinking a huge glass of fruit juice, and he's a diabetic. It's like no, fruit juice is not fruit, right? Just so everybody knows. This one more, like a couple of bullet points down. I really had to train myself not to finish on what's on my plate. Right? We were brought up to finish what was on our plate. The kids starving in India. Got it, but no, you don't have to, man. Leave it. If you're full or even you're 80% full is what they say, leave it. I found for me, vitamin D was less, especially like a couple of decades ago, I transitioned back to vegetarian diet and or pescatarian at this point. Vitamin D was low, and that has an impact on immunity, right? And homocysteine levels were low. So vitamin B and D, especially for vegetarians, huge. Yeah, and so just some tips, and like I said, many of you are way further along on this journey and can teach us rather than me giving you more tips. So just some thoughts on nutrition. Next slide, please, Dilip. Last bit is sleep. Next slide. So Dilip insisted we have all buckets. So this is my cat, whom I inherited from my son. He's an expert on sleep. Samuel. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Yeah. So as we get older, right, we get less deep sleep. And deep sleep is the key. We need lots of deep sleep, and it's multifactorial, the impact. Uh, it has physical, metabolic, cognitive impairment. The easiest way to see this is like if you haven't slept well, you don't talk well the next day. At least I don't, right? I have a hard time putting sentences together if I haven't slept well. Well, think about what happens if that's happening to you daily. It does lead to cognitive impairment. It does lead to physical and metabolic issues, like you don't have as good a workout, so on. And it does increase the risk of developing some chronic diseases. So more sleep, surprisingly, is super important for us. Next slide, please. So lots of data, 7, 8, 9 hours is what people need. Most of the studies I was able to find at least 7 hours of sleep, right? With lots of deep sleep. Now, the good news is there are lots of ways to track deep sleep. Apple Watch does it, things like Whoop, things like Aura rings that will help you. There are even some beds that'll track your deep sleep for you. I took a Whoop for 6 months, right, and just paid for it for 6 months, and I was able to get the insights I needed as to what drove sleep for me, because it is a very, very personal thing as to what causes you to have a better night's sleep. So things for you to try is dark rooms. That's pretty universally recommended. But like my son used to sleep with his lights on and he slept fine, right? Comfortable mattresses. You spend a third of your life in bed, might as well pay for a nice mattress, right? Great sheets, that helps. Same time every day. Exercise. If I work out, I sleep better. No two ways about it. Some friends use sleep masks. Others use earplugs, white noise machines. Some people use CBT for insomnia, like they don't have trouble falling asleep, but they wake up in the middle of the night. And then how do you put yourself back to sleep? Personally, I count backwards in Hindi, and that puts me back to sleep every freaking time. Contraindicated, definitely booze. You may fall asleep easier, but it is you'll see from your Whoop or Apple Watch or whatever, it is definitely less stressful and less deep sleep. Late night snacks, caffeine, devices, all of these things are super contraindicated for good quality sleep. Next slide, please. So that's what we had for presentation. It is precisely on 9:50 India time, as we promised. So we have plenty of time for Q&A. I'll hand it back to Dilip. He wanted to
Let me
plug
see
some
how
books.
to get to the questions here. Show chat views. Okay. Well, I
So
cannot see
Tapan
all
is
of them.
asking, do we need more sleep as we age or less? So Tapan, I don't know that we need more sleep. We need
We
enough.
need the same amount. I did look that
Yeah,
up. We need
yeah.
the same amount of sleep. The myth is that we need less, but actually we need the same amount of sleep. The problem is that we get interrupted and the sleep is not continuous. That's the issue. But from physiological perspective, we need the same amount of sleep as we are young, and unfortunately we don't get it, and that's why all the tips from Rohit on how to manage it.
So the reason I'm asking is, I mean, when we were growing up, we used to see our, the older generation, they would be up early and
Yeah.
so on and so forth, right? So at
Yes.
that time, the thinking was, oh, as you age, you need less sleep. I mean, they sleep less and so on, right? I guess they used to go to sleep earlier than us, but maybe that's how it is. But
Yeah,
just
based on the science, right? It said that's a myth that, and we heard the same thing that you need less sleep. We need the same amount of sleep, and when you don't, then it does affect. That's why we should still strive.
And we don't
To
need
get
more
sleep.
either, right? I mean, we
You
don't
don't need
need like
more for sure. No,
now because we are 65 plus, we need 9 hours of sleep. No, it's not that either,
no.
right?
Yeah,
It's the quality
correct,
of sleep,
correct,
of course. And
correct.
just on my personal note, in terms of sleep, right? One thing we changed maybe 2-3 years ago, and that has changed everything for me in terms of how I feel during the day is, having a set time to go to bed, right? Every weekday. I mean, I'm still working, so that works. But I try to hit the bed by 9 a.m. Of course, we wake up at 5 a.m. But every day I'm in bed by 9 a.m., right? Unless
9 p.m. 9
9
p.m.
p.m. Sorry, 9 a.m. Yeah. Yeah. So that has helped me immensely in terms of my mental state, the amount of energy I have all day and everything else. So, I can definitely vouch for that.
Yeah, I mean, all this shit, like I used to poo-poo this early to bed, early to rise, right? I mean, 1 o'clock, 1 a.m., there was still bridge going on somewhere in the corridor, right? But yeah, it comes home to roost at some point. Somebody said, two questions along here. Somebody said, why is fruit juice not fruit? And all the fiber and stuff is removed, right? So you get a huge shot of sugar if you drink fruit juice instead of eating whole fruit. So that's the issue. That's why I say fruit juice is not fruit. And then afternoon
Sure, I had
siesta.
a question
Yeah,
up front.
Saurabh is asking, is it a good idea
Okay.
to have an afternoon siesta?
What's the
So
question? Sorry.
is it a good idea to have an afternoon siesta?
Hmm.
So if you're doing it because you didn't get restful sleep at night, then address the root cause, which is get more restful deep sleep at night, right? On the other hand, like for me personally, 15 minutes of a quick nap in the afternoon recharges my batteries and it's really good for me. And there are several cultures, right? Europe, Portugal, Spain, whatever, that do Mexico, etc., especially hot climates that do quick afternoon siesta, and that works. But the key is to get enough deep sleep at night.
Yeah, we'll get you precise answer on that. Question is sleeping 8 hours, let's say at night, uh, the same as sleeping 2 hours, taking 2 hours nap and 6 hours at night, right? I mean, what is good or what's worse? There are actually research on that. I don't remember right away, but there's something to do with in the afternoon you don't get as good
Deep
REM
sleep.
cycle. So let's get you the precise answer on that. I mean, I do nap. I love naps, but is it really good? I don't know. Kushro is asking, is health span the same? Is means the disease-free life? No, it you may still have diseases, other diseases, but what it means is that you are still being able to take care of your own. Your quality of life is better. You are mobile. You are independent. You are functional, in spite of other diseases that you have. On the other hand, you may be disease-free in terms of the medical terms, but you may not be mobile, and and so health span is not necessarily disease-free. In
Murli wants to know if bridge is good for.
Dilip, can you remove the presentation so that we can see everybody?
remove the presentation. I see. So stop sharing. Oh, remove it. Okay, sorry. Okay. Sure. Let me see how to
Stop
do.
sharing.
While you're doing that, Dilip,
Just stop
Yeah.
sharing.
Yeah. Is that better?
Oh, you're still sharing.
Is also stop sharing.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
It says the host is disabled. We can't do the video, I think. But the
Oh,
question is,
someone else did that.
yeah, I had a quick question. Yesterday, I was playing bridge in my basement with some people, and after a long time, and I found out that I had to ask everybody to repeat their bits before, starting the tricks. So I found out that I need to start writing down all their bits, which is kind of illegal. But all I'm saying is that's kind of had a revelation to me that I need to do something about it. I don't know if I need to do some memory exercises or what, but the bridge is one good way to realize if you're losing memory, because I had to keep asking everybody repeat your bit. Okay, so just a suggestion.
It's definitely humbling, right? All whatever it is, whether it's bridge or hiking or looking at your biking times, anything like that, right? I
Yep.
mean, it's just humbling
Yeah.
to know.
Yeah, but Murli, I think that's a great observation on your part in terms of yourself, right? I mean, you know, you need to do something about it, right? If you think, oh, this didn't happen, like the theme of this whole talk is like, getting younger tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
And so how do you reverse that going forward, right? So those are the things you have to work on. I mean, a lot of suggestions in this talk,
Yeah.
but definitely worth exploring in your case. And then, that'll be a good case study for all of us that, hey,
Yeah.
I mean, this was something that he noticed, and then he took these kinds of steps. And a year later, or whatever, 6 months later, he is not having to ask them the same thing, right? I mean, that would be a very, very interesting, study for all of us.
Yeah. No, short-term memory.
One second, can I interrupt? We'll continue with the questions, but since it is going to be end of the 1 hour, but we'll continue with the questions. I want to announce two things in case some folks have to leave based on the time. One is the next talk will be by Dr. Radha Rao. She has graciously agreed to give us a talk. She's professor in medicine and a real medical doctor, unlike Neem Hakim, Dr. Vishnoy. And so thank you, Radha. She's actually has done fellowship in geriatrics as well, so real expert. Number two is Rohit. You want to talk about the book club, and then we'll continue
Sure.
through the questions.
Yeah, just a moment.
So-
Radha's talk will be in September.
Yes, it will be. We have a health series. It will be every 3 months, so it is a quarter later. Yes.
Okay. And then on the book club, gang, Dilip and I were talking, and we said it would be great to dig into these. This was obviously very superficial, right? I mean, and just touched on some topics, but it'd be good to dig in on depth. There are so many topics around this. What testing should you get done? What about cognition? How do we preserve cognition, or improve cognition, as Murli was talking about? So what we thought we would do is take some of these books that we had in our reference section and just do a book club, say every 6-8 weeks, something like that. And so stay tuned. It'll be on the Bucket Healthcare channel. And never been a part of a book club, but I'm sure we can figure it out. That's
Okay,
it
I
for
want to
announcements. Continue with Q&A.
thank you, Rohit. That's a great idea. I love it. There's a question from Morley. Is a paid trainer worth hiring? For me, it's absolutely true. And I know several of it has tremendously helped me. The way I think of it is that I'm using my kids' inheritance to pay for a trainer. Why not? Right? It is totally worth it.
So,
I think
team,
Saurabh
I
had
have
a
a term for this. It's called an accountability partner, right? More than it's not the knowledge so much on training that helps too. Obviously, they help with form and they help with, especially as you get into serious weights and stuff, like what we saw Netke doing. I wouldn't do 200 pounds without a trainer around. But more than anything else, is accountability. Whether it's a friend or it's a trainer, if you've told somebody you're going to show up, then you show up, right? Especially if you're knowing us as Indians, if we paid for it, we're freaking showing up and getting value for our money,
Yes.
right? So it just gets you going in the beginning to get your habits formed.
Okay. There was a question.
For me, absolutely worth it.
Saurabh had questions about, he's pre-diabetic. Are there any fruits that he should avoid and stuff like that? I don't know if any of us are really, you should ask that question to Radha probably during her presentation. I don't think any of us are really qualified to answer that, right?
She's
Correct,
here, so
correct.
she can answer it now, perhaps.
Well, I won't put her on the spot today.
Okay.
Definitely, if she wants to answer, that's fine. But I think overall in this presentation, we did not cover, as you know, we didn't use the word diabetes or cancer. We didn't really cover any of those traditional chronic disease. So it's really outside of the scope of health span. But if someone wants to answer, that's fine.
So, talking of this paid trainer, right? So recently I got a a new bike. I couldn't afford the Peloton. My kids do. But anyway, so I have a Peloton account through one of my kids. Now, I used to do biking. I had an older bike, and I've been biking, stationary bike, of course. Rohit wants me to do, come outside with him, but I'll never do that.
On the road, baby. Tapan, come on out.
I'm too scared to do that, right? So that's not happening. So I got a better bike, which is close to a Peloton bike. But what I've found very, very, motivating, and many days I'm like low on motivation because after work I try to do my biking, which I do pretty regularly. I've not missed in like 6 weeks right now. But the thing is that these, like Peloton has tens of thousands of, routines that you can follow, right? So if you have a trainer, they have trainers and stuff, right? Then they take you through these routines.
Yeah.
And it's, you like same thing. You have a partner who is there with you, who is sort of guiding you along. And then, of course, you're on your bike by yourself in your house, maybe, right? So you don't have to do everything. If you think it's too hard or you want to take a break, you can. But it motivates you. Okay, let me see if I can do that. Let me try harder. Let me see if I can beat them also, right? So
Right.
that helps me a whole lot because I keep challenging myself to do better than them, right? So they'll say, okay, resistance 50. I'll say, okay, let me see if I can put 55 resistance and do the same speed, right? Things like that. I mean, which sort of are interactive in the sense that I'm not just fighting against the bike. I have another partner there who's sort of helping me along as we go, right?
Yeah. Makes sense totally. I use Peloton for the same reason.
In fact, on the question
Team, I
of a
would say,
trainer,
Saurabh?
yeah, on the question of a trainer, I'll share my own experience. About 2 years ago, see, I live in an apartment complex, and we used to have a small gym, but 2 years ago they put in a very good gym. So I was doing my evening walks, 10,000 steps for several years. But once the gym came, I started working out with a trainer. And fortunately, the trainer doesn't cost very much here in India. But he's a very good trainer. He's done boxing at the national level. So the good thing with doing this with a trainer, and I do it twice a week, the good thing is that one, I don't have to bother about looking at what weight he's putting on which machine and which machine I should do next. He rotates me in amongst all the machines over several weeks and how many repetitions and so on. And also, he later on suggested that I should start learning some boxing, which I started. And since he was a mixed martial arts trainer also, he then started teaching me kickboxing. And that, really opens up your arms and legs, and it's a really good cardio workout. So I've
Yes.
been doing that for 7-8 months now, kickboxing and so on, along with the weights and so on. So because it does not cost very much in India to have a personal trainer, I would highly recommend it at least to everyone who's in India. You need to be in a gym, and because you will never get it on your own, you will not know how you should rotate between the various machines.
And even in the US, I would rather spend my money with a trainer than getting X-rays and MRIs and physical therapist, right? So it is actually cheaper to go with the trainer.
it's one of the best investments you'll make in your life.
Yeah, but that's not covered by insurance, right? Insurance doesn't cover it.
Dude, spend the fucking money, man, Murli.
Hey, so there is a hybrid model with I know some of my friends here do that, right? I mean, so they have trainers in India whom they pay, and over Zoom, they walk them through exercises here, right? So yeah, it's not the same thing as sort of that you'd be in a gym and stuff like that.
And
I
that's fine
completely
too.
agree with that, right? But at least,
So, yeah.
Go ahead, Rohit.
Tapan, I've had friends also run into issues with that. Like one of my fittest friends, right? Like he does tries, he swims like a demon, this, that, was doing yoga over Zoom in India. Like he's like worth something like $100 million, but still paying for yoga in India, right? Is as opposed to a yoga teacher here. Flew out his back, out of action for 3 months. So there's a trade-off, especially as we get older. The propensity for injury is higher, especially as you're getting to tougher poses, higher weights. Like as I was saying, I'm so blown away with what Shirish has accomplished in a few short months. But I would not. I'm not so sure if he was doing that without a trainer that he would have been able to do that injury-free at this point. So I'm with Saurabh, and yeah, both on the accountability front and staying injury free as we go up the curve. It's been, once you learn, maybe you can do it on your own if you have good discipline. Like Tapan's a super disciplined guy. I mean, you just, Tapan, you do stuff. It's amazing. Dilip, you do stuff. It's really good. Your guys are super disciplined. I'm not, man. I need, it helps me to have somebody I'm paying because, or an appointment with a friend. Especially in Chicago, it's cold, right? So unless you have an appointment with somebody, you're not getting out of bed and doing something.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a trainer yet, but I think just listening to you guys, I do want to get a trainer now.
100%. Yeah, you should get one. I would recommend everyone. As I said, you are using your uh, inheritance money or your kids' inheritance. Just use it.
What would they rather have? Few more years of a healthy life of yours, or a couple more bucks?
Other questions? I think Gary Miller had a question. He saw both Netke and I do barefoot exercise. He's saying, is it dangerous? Is it correct? Well, barefoot is the best way. You have more traction. You're more grounded. It's just that when you go to a commercial gym, you're not allowed to go barefoot. But my trainer he does barefoot with me, so he has suggested that's the best way. And if you do it properly, and you won't get injured. Of course, you cannot do that in a commercial gym.
I can talk about the glycemic index. I think we were having trouble unmuting our phone, so we are back. Is it okay to talk now?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. So usually, you can just Google like foods with high glycemic index or GI index. Anything more than 60 is high. And it's kind of intuitive, like if rice, potatoes, tortillas, pasta, bread, white bread, brown bread, all kinds of bread. People think brown bread is better than white bread. That's really not the case. So flour items, they have high GI index, and those are not good for you. And conversely, foods with lower GI index would be legumes, grains, fruits, vegetables. And even in fruits, there's a hierarchy. Like grapes have a very high GI index. Yeah, and like watermelon, oranges. Yeah, this is something you can easily Google and figure out your own. And then some people even are even more sophisticated now. They're wearing the Dexcom meters or the Freestyle Libre. If you have diabetes, you can get that prescription, or you can buy it from CVS, and you can actually check your sugar spike after you eat a certain food. And obviously, high glucose leads to high insulin levels, right? And then hyperinsulinemia leads to fat storage and less burning of calories. So that's where the problem lies. Thank you.
These continuous glucose monitors are awesome. I watched some, they'll even beep at you. So a friend of mine used to host all of us for meetings and order Indian food because it was not allowed at home. And then when he got a CGM, it would start alarming after he finished his naan, like loud freaking alarms. Beep, beep, beep.
Yeah.
So now there's no Indian food at meetings also, tragically.
Yeah, Dilip, thank you for organizing this. This is just, awesome. We
It's
need
a
this.
collaborative effort between Rohit and me. So thanks to Rohit. I did learn a lot in this process.
Yeah.
Yeah, one
Dr.
quick question,
from my
Dr.
afternoon
Radha
side.
Rao. This is Murli here. I'm Dr. Radha. I've been going to India every like most people. I'm going next Friday, and when I went to CVS to get my COVID shot, they said I had turned 65. The last shot I had was 64. So, do we need to continue to get annual COVID shots? Or is it worth it, or is it just a placebo kind of thing?
No, it's not placebo, and it's definitely worth it. We are still seeing COVID cases at work, but definitely way lesser than the previous 2-3 years. So it's honestly up to you. I would say the pros and cons are sort of even at this point because people do get a lot of reactions to the vaccine as well. Fever, and then there is spikes in blood pressure, spikes in blood sugar. We see a lot of weird reactions. So it would be up to you. Previously, it used to be clearly the benefit outweighs the risk, but as of now, it's equal, I would say.
Thank you very much.
It's every year. Yeah, the boosters are every year still.
Yeah, every year, and they said I'm eligible after 65, so I got to come back and take it.
Sure. Did you ask the question about memory loss and bridge? Were you talking about that?
Yeah. Yesterday only I played bridge after a long time, and
Yes.
I had to ask them for the repeating the bits. And I even made some errors during the game, and I knew it's all memory related. Okay, so
Right.
okay, that was
So
so.
basic tips whenever we see this a lot at work. We first check for reversible causes like B12 levels, thyroid levels, RPR, which is related to syphilis. These are some things your physician can order, and a CAT scan of the brain. Those are like 4 or 5 things. Vitamin D levels as well. And another thing you could have, it's called the mini MOCA test or the mini mental state exam. You can print it off the internet, and a family member could administer it for you. And then you want to see how you score. It's a 30-point questionnaire. Are you, if you're between 25 and 30, you would be classified as, or 27 and 30, mild cognitive impairment. Between 26 and 20, it's mild or mild dementia, and so on, mild, moderate, and severe. So that is worth doing. That's a test you can either do at home, or you should obviously go to your primary care physician, or or even a neurologist. That would be fine.
Mini MOCA. What is the spelling? MOKA?
MOCA.
Yeah.
Montreal Cognitive Assessment Test. And then if you're actually diagnosed with any type of dementia or MCI, you should go to a neurologist, and they'll do a formal 3-hour battery of tests called the neuropsychology test. So yeah, that would be some tips I would give you.
Yeah, my vitamin D was 25, so yesterday I found out, so I'm boosting it up to 30. Okay, so I don't know if obviously there are a lot more factors than that. Thank you.
B12 has a very strong correlation with cognitive impairment, low B12 levels, and a lot of vegan people who don't eat meat have low B12 levels.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Friends, I want to say something. Can I say?
Yeah,
Yes,
please go ahead.
You see, I was very much overweight and had my blood pressure around 180 and 110. I am following for last 3 years now the fasting, intermittent fasting, which gives my abdomen, stomach empty for another 8 hours. This has helped me to reduce all sort of bad things in my body, reduce my blood pressure, and right now I don't take any blood pressure medicine. My blood pressure is arranging 80, 90, and the higher side is 150, 140 like this. There is no medicine taken. Earlier, without medicine, it was difficult. And further, this I did this experiment also on another person who was facing cancer. This mouth cancer. There were 2 tumors in his mouth. He was a farmer, known to me, and from a poor background. So I also encouraged him to do this intermittent fasting, which Dr. L.M. Kapoor, you must have already, you will be knowing of him in being in America. So his things are we should be eating only those foods which nature has designed for us. Means no, basically we should not be inclined to non-veg too much. We should rely mostly on the natural plant-based food, and even milk and dairy products, which we are very happy to take, we should avoid it. Because
So
the
let me, thanks Brajesh for sharing. I think nutrition is important. We talked a lot about it. So we avoided the controversial topics. There are generally accepted principles in nutrition. Then there are less controversial and more controversial.
is okay. I'm not talking about any controversy, but this was my own experiment,
perfect. No,
which
thank you.
I have done it on myself. And also, same time when I was following, I encouraged the person also with a mouth cancer, and he was he also has been relieved. Both his tumors were reduced in due course of time.
No, let me
Maybe
complete. Let me complete where the what I was going to say is that from the general community there are generally accepted and some controversial. That doesn't mean that one doesn't adopt it. I follow intermittent fasting, others don't. What I was going to say is that when a topic is controversial, everybody should apply their own judgment, run your own biomarkers, and then figure out what works for you.
yes,
That's all
yes.
I was going to say. Yeah. So, and I'm glad it's working for you, and I do it, but it is still a controversial topic. Intermittent fasting, vegan diet. So we don't want to talk about it. Let's close on this now. What I would like to suggest is that please do send topics that you would want to see in the health series, specifically what you would want to be covered in the next set of talks. That will help Radha as well preparing for that. I want to thank all of you for attending. I want to thank Saurabh for giving us the opportunity to talk. I want to thank Khoshro for organizing the Zoom calls, and of course all of you. We really care for you. One thing I will close is that you guys have all the knowledge. We all have all the knowledge. In the end, it boils down to not knowledge or inspiration. It's action. Knowledge without action is futile. So please do act. Do act on all those 4 fronts, and stay healthy. Yeah. Rohit.
No, nothing more to add. Thank you very much, everybody. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
Forward.
Thanks, guys. This was wonderful.
Thank you.
Very
Thank
nice.
you. Thank you. Great job.
Great job, guys.
Excellent. Very nice. Very good.
Thank you.
All right, folks, signing off. Have a great evening or a day, whichever it is for you. And we'll meet up as soon as we can. Good night.